12,000 years ago, a man crouches by a fire in the Utah desert. He spits 4 seeds into the ash. Those seeds are tobacco. History looked you dead in the eye, tucked a wad of leaves in its cheek, and said, "Hold my scroll." That fire is the oldest proof we have of a human being using tobacco, 12,300 years old. Which leaves one horrible question. Who looked at a plant, set it on fire, and thought, yeah, into the lungs it goes? Well, somebody did, and the reason is so much weirder than they were bored. The place is called the Wishbone site, and it's a salt flat with no trees and nothing on it. A dig team found a small fire pit with over 2,000 bits of bone, some spear tips, and burnt willow wood. Normal Ice Age camping. Then, sitting in the ash, 4 burnt tobacco seeds. Here's the twist. They probably weren't smoking it. The best guess is that they twisted leaves and stems into a wad and chewed it. The seeds got spat out, and the first tobacco habit on record was basically dip. Ice Age Zin. Your great-great-great-grandpa had a lip in it. And that's the calm version, because burning it comes later. Burning it changes everything. Scientists tested a 3,600-year-old stone pipe and found actual nicotine in it. The oldest hard proof of tobacco being smoked comes from Alabama, a carved stone smoking tube from the Flint River site, dated to roughly 1600 BC. Someone ran the gunk inside through a lab machine. There was still nicotine in it. 36 centuries later, that pipe was still dirty. Man never got a chance to hide the evidence. Because burning is a cheat code and the body has no defense against it. Eat a plant and it takes the slow road. Down the stomach, through the liver, half of it destroyed on the way, like a parcel going through 4 different depots. Burn it and the good stuff rides the smoke straight into your lungs and hits your brain in seconds. Same package, express overnight delivery. Ancient people obviously didn't know any of that. They just knew one method worked instantly and the other didn't. So, how did anybody figure this out? Nobody wrote it down because nobody could write, but the honest answer is that fire got there first. Think about your own life for a second. Fire was the phone, it was the oven, the heater, the light, the group chat. People sat in smoke every single night. Some plants smell incredible when they burn. A few of those plants also do things to your head, so the discovery wasn't a genius in a lab. It was a guy sitting downwind who noticed he felt amazing. And that's not me guessing, people were still doing exactly that thousands of years later. Meet Herodotus, a Greek writer from around 440 BC, and an absolute gossip machine. He describes the Scythians, the horse people of the steppe. After a funeral, they build a small tent out of felt, then drop hemp seeds onto red-hot stones. Then they climb inside and shut the flap. He says the steam beats any Greek steam bath, and he says they howl with joy. That's a Greek historian 24 centuries ago describing a hot box in detail with reviews. And in 2019 we got the receipts. 10 wooden bowls, 9 of them tested positive. The place is a graveyard called Jirzankal, about 2 miles up in the Pamir mountains, and it dates around 500 BC. Buried with the dead were wooden braziers packed with hot stones and burnt plates. The lab found THC, and not just a trace of it either. The level sat well above what wild hemp usually makes, which means somebody was already choosing the strong plants on purpose. And it happened at funerals. The whole group sat in that smoke together in a tomb 10,000 feet in the sky. The idea was to reach the dead. So there's your answer. Humans didn't invent smoking to chill, they invented it to make a phone call. If you're still here after all that, you're my kind of person. Subscribe, it's free, it takes 1 tap, and it makes the algorithm nervous. Now, the main job. For most of history, smoke was religion and smoke was medicine, and those two were the same department. In the Americas, tobacco was sacred. The Maya burnt it to feed the dead and protect the living. In 2012, a team tested a little Maya flask, about 1,200 years old. The side of it is painted with glyphs that say the home of his tobacco. Inside, nicotine. So, the first proof of Maya tobacco came with a label on the tin. They invented Tupperware and beat us to it by 1,000 years. So when does it stop being holy and start being a habit? The honest answer is that the line was always blurry. A thing can be sacred at the funeral and pleasant on a Tuesday. Ritual and recreation are roommates. But the moment it went global is easy to date. 1492, Columbus lands in Cuba, and his crew watch people roll leaves, light them, and breathe in. Tobacco does not grow in Europe, so Europe had no idea any of this existed, because obviously, nicotine is named after a guy who mailed a plant to a queen. Then, 1560, a French ambassador called Jean Nicot sends tobacco to Queen Catherine de Medici in Paris, not to party, as a migraine cure. She likes it. The court copies her. Europe's first tobacco craze was sold to the public as headache medicine. Nicot's name is why the chemical is called nicotine. This man got a molecule named after him for posting a plant to a queen. Absolute main character behavior. And the medicine excuse did not die quietly. It got worse. 1665, London. The plague is killing thousands a week, and the doctors think disease travels in bad smells. Tobacco smoke smells strong, therefore tobacco smoke beats plague, cause obviously that was the entire logic. So the boys at Eton were ordered to smoke. Every morning in class, one of them, Tom Rogers, later told a diarist that he was never whipped harder in his life than the morning he refused his pipe. Detention for not smoking in school. That happened. So was it judged? Instantly, and way harder than today. 1604, King James I of England writes an actual rant called A Counterblast to Tobacco. He calls it loathsome to the eye, hateful to the nose, harmful to the brain, and dangerous to the lungs. Then he taxed it. Then England kept smoking. 1605, Ottoman Sultan Murad IV makes smoking punishable by death after a fire burns a huge chunk of Istanbul and he decides pipes did it. 1639, Ming China. Emperor Chongzhen bans it completely. No growing, no selling, no smoking. He had tried it 2 years before and backed down because his own army was hooked. 1642, Pope Urban VIII. Dealing with people in Seville who were taking snuff during Mass and sneezing on the altar, he threatened to throw them out of the church. 4 rulers, 4 continents, 38 years, all furious, and not one of them cared about your lungs. They banned it because it stank, because it started fires, because it looked like magic, because young men were doing it in public and enjoying it, which historically is the fastest way to get something banned. The hell thing? Yeah, that took another 300 years. Which brings the whole story back around. It started as a way to talk to the dead, it became medicine, then it became a fashion accessory, and only at the very end did anyone check the receipts. So yeah, you didn't just hold my scroll. You held it while a Greek historian reviewed a hot box and a Pope threatened people for sneezing. Drop a like if you learned something you'll bring up uninvited today. And tell me in the comments which one is worse, the Sultan hunting smokers in disguise or the Emperor who had to unban it because his own soldiers were fiending. Subscribe because next time we're doing how humans discovered alcohol, and that one is somehow dumber. Until then, hold my scroll and stroke it gently as well.